Great. So good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. So we are going to get started. If I could have my slides, please. Thank you. Okay, so the topic is from bricks to brainwaves. And as I have a background as a scientist, we are going to start with an experiment. So maybe you have heard the song, We Will Rock You. And now we are going to do the clap together. And it goes like this. 1, 2, clap. Okay, so let's clap together. Okay, wonderful, guys. Thank you. You're doing great. So what I want to teach you with this experiment are 2 things. So first of all, speaking of brain waves, when we clap together like this, our brains get in sync. They get into the same frequency. And when they are in sync, it actually increases our ability for collaboration and thus our chance of survival. The second thing I want to teach you is that everything radiates data. So when you're just sitting here, you're radiating data. When you're clapping, you're radiating data. And everything in this room radiates data, like bricks, like the walls, like the lamps, and all of that. And sometimes the human senses can capture this data, and other times we need the help of technology, like different types of sensors. But as you know, it's not only about having data, we also need to make this data intelligent, so we have the information that we need when we need it. So did you know that bad data costs the construction industry $1.84 trillion per year? So that's bad data. Another consequence of bad data is that there are 60,000 fatalities around the world each year because of bad data. So these things are preventable. And the solution is called a single source of truth. So if we structure data and create a bucket where everyone can look in, so we share this common view of things. And if we have this information in a standardized way, in an unbroken way, and in a digitalized way throughout the whole life cycle of the built environment, we can really solve the problem of bad data. And this is the backbone when we create intelligence, when we turn this type of data to cognition, kind of creating a brain for the construction industry. So in my company, we have a solution called Samporten, and it's an AI SaaS solution that I view a bit as a digital seatbelt for humans, for buildings. So let's take a look at how it works. So I'm going to show you a movie. And what you will see here is that we work within 2 areas creating tailor-made AI solutions. So one area is coordination, and the other area is information management. So I'm sure that lots of you are using ChatGPT. And when you ask a question to ChatGPT, let's say, oh, we shouldn't play the movie yet, so stop that. Okay. So when we are using sorry, can you stop the movie? So when we are using ChatGPT and we ask a question, we sometimes get lots of different types of answers. And sometimes we need to apply some brain power to that. But imagine if you had an AI solution that gave you one answer that's really pinpointing exactly what you want, so you don't even need to think about it. This is what our AI assistant, Charlie, can create today. And as you know, the development is very rapid. So there are also agents. So that means that you don't even need to think. The agent will kind of tell you what to do, alert you, and is even able to take actions. So let's play the movie again, please. And I will take you through what you just saw. So first, you will see a geese map. So when you are coordinating complex construction places, this map, this solution, enables you to actually tell other stakeholders where you are, who you are, what you are going to do, and when you are going to do it. So everyone can really be aware of the information that other stakeholders have. The AI assistant, Charlie, also allows you to chat with your projects, with your buildings, with your documents. So as you may know, sometimes when we need information about a building, let's say a ventilation system, it can take days to find the technical information, the inspection protocols, and so on. But here, you will really have this information at your fingertip. It's also based on Watson X. So working together with IBM also gives you the security that you need to also protect your information and also give the right people the right access to data. So that's something, when it comes to security, that we see is key within AI. So how does it actually work if you just deep dive a bit into the nitty-gritty? So this is a schematic picture of how it looks like when we train the AI to create these tailor-made solutions. So what you see here is, if we take ventilations as an example, that we take all the technical information, we put it into the AI to really train it so it becomes specific, so it really learns what type of language that is spoken within the construction industry. And of course, the AI speaks Arabic as well. And then you also talk to the technicians. So you really generate the output that they need, that they want. So that's also a very important part of creating a good AI. It's to start with the end in mind. So, summarizing, when it comes to bad data and all these costs and all these fatalities, we can actually solve that problem by structuring data, by creating one single source of truth. And what's very cool with this is that different types of stakeholders, no matter your profession, you can look into this single source of truth and get your information. So you avoid misunderstandings, you know, when things are divided into silos and people have different information that collides. This is prevented by these types of AI solutions. And this is how we build intelligence, cognition, creating a brain for the construction industry. And the KPIs, the results of this, are many. So we can reduce administration time with over 80%. We can see a 50% reduction in deviations like accidents. And we also see a 30% reduction when it comes to different types of costs related to maintenance. So if we want to create a wonderful future for humanity, turning dreams into reality, how do we actually do that? Before I answer that question, we are going to do an experiment together again. So this time, I would like for you to take your finger like this, and then you try to pull it down as fast as you can. Okay, wonderful, guys. You're really good at this. Great. Okay, so now I want you to take your finger like this, and when I say ready, set, go, I want you to pull down your finger as fast as you can. Okay? Yes? Okay. Ready, set, go. Now you understand why I love my job, because what you noticed is that when I say go, you have actually already taken down your finger. And what I want to teach you with this is that people do not do what you tell them to do. People do what you do. So if we want to drive transformation, we really need to walk the talk. We need to get started. Because once we get started, other people will follow. So with this said, I want to say thank you, and I want to invite Miriam to the stage, and let's have a discussion about this.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you so much, Katarina. Can we have a massive round of applause for her presentation? Thank you again after our conversation. Let's stay standing. I think it's nice to get some energy in the room if that works for you.
Wonderful.
So, absolutely fascinating insights.
Thank you.
But I wanted to start by asking you a question, because this conference is all about the future of humanity.
Yes.
And here we are talking about AI and robots and virtual assistants.
Yeah.
So you're a brain scientist, you love people and you love our actual brains.
Yes.
Can you talk to me a little bit about the parallels and the similarities between our human brains and maybe what AI is doing, so we don't just feel like we're outsourcing everything, we still feel like we can use our own brains and the magic of our brains to create the future that we're trying to for humanity?
Yeah. So the most important part right now when it comes to create a good AI is to actually steal the information from all these bright brains out there. So when we do the training, we really need experts to tell us what's right and what's wrong and what type of answers do we want or not. So that's kind of key. So when people are worried about their job and so on, I always tell them that the best will survive, because that's the expertise that we are copying, replicated into the machine. But then there is also another parallel of the AI that we are creating, and that is that when we make decisions, put in simple terms, we have the reptile brain, that's very fast. And then we have the frontal lobe, the smartest part of the brain, that's a bit slower. And what's very important when you create an AI is actually to replicate a bit the reptile brain to get it very, very fast. Because if you use these very large language models that have everything within them, they will actually get slower the more information you put in, because you need to go through so many things before you come to construction. Whereas if you just take everything from construction and putting it into your AI, that's when you tailor-make a solution. And that means that when you train your AI, it will be so much faster with time rather than slower. And that also kind of cuts cost, and it's more sustainable.
That's a really interesting way, isn't it, of looking at those overlaps between the way our own brains work and the way that we're developing and training AIs to work. You talk a lot about data, and you talked about this sort of idea of a single source of truth.
Yes.
How can we trust, because it's all about trust, isn't
Yes.
it, that what is going into these AIs and the output that we're getting from a robotic cognition is worthy of being trusted? Because I would imagine that's something that, I don't know, would concern me. I don't know if it would concern any of you, in terms of how do we trust the data that's going in and coming out? Yeah.
So that's probably the most important question of all when it comes to AI. So first of all, the experts that you have, you really need to validate them first. And then I love the word benevolence in English, so that these experts also have their best interest to create the best type of AI. But then from the technical side, there is a very important part around security. So a new buzzword within this world is shadow AI.
Shadow AI.
Shadow AI.
Shadow AI.
And that is related to that someone can actually hack your AI and be a shadow in the background. And that enables, how to say, them to both steal your data, steal intelligence, and they can also put bad data into your model without you noticing. So then you can get an output that may be really bad. So if you go to the field of medicine, imagine that an AI tells you that you have cancer because someone hacked your AI, and then you act upon that. Then it's very dangerous. Or within construction, that we are told that this bridge is safe in terms of how much weight we can put on it, and then it's not, and so on. So that's why it's very important to have a good backbone where you can connect different types of security solutions and also match it towards governance, so you are following different rules and regulations and so on.
It also sounds to me that this is a bit of a plea that we don't ever check out as humans, that we don't ever completely devolve responsibility to an AI, that we always maintain some of our human integrity and empathy and cognition and knowledge and truth in order to sense check and to make sure that we're not just, you know what it's like with a sat-nav in your car? You know, back in the days when we first started getting the sat-navs and we'd just plug in the destination and then we'd end up in the wrong place sometimes because we forgot to check. And it sounds like it's a similar scenario now with AI.
Exactly. So sometimes I even tell people that we need to be smarter than AI so we can really evaluate the output. So in terms of your analogy, so if we know that we are going here, for example, to Four Seasons, but the navigation says that we should go somewhere else, I mean, if we have some sort of knowledge and sense of direction, we can also, how to say, be empowered to say that it's wrong. But to do that, you need to have the knowledge, and that's why we need to get smarter and not kind of losing it to AI. And I also think it's very important to remember that probably just in a year or two, basically all the content on the internet will be created by AI and also moderated by AI. So with that said, we really need to have this type of knowledge within us so we can always evaluate and,
We're living in a brave new world, that's for sure. And talking about living in the world we do, let's just translate some of these messages into cognition and real estate, because that's ultimately why we are here. And moving away for a moment from the AI, are there some of your insights and understandings about human cognition that might help all of us to design and build and develop and invest in better cities and better communities? Do we need to find tools that enable us to understand the humans who we are serving in a better way?
Yeah, for sure. And it's said that we are spending approximately 90% of our lives in buildings. So with that said, we all know if we were to live in a basement without windows, without ventilation, it's pretty obvious that that affects our mental capacity and abilities. And if you think in the opposite way, if we are in a building, a beautiful building like this, where there are huge windows, lots of daylight, beautiful decoration, also biophilia, including nature, is something that's very important, and also to the indoor environment. So if you have plants, it has actually been shown that we can perform better, you get better air quality, and so on. And it's the same thing when we design cities. If you are able to walk, to bike, and so on, you kind of get your exercise for free. So that's also good for us.
Is there a way that those of us in the room today can access that information and those insights? Because I don't know about you, but I'm not a brain scientist. Anyone here a brain scientist? But it's obviously really important that we have these sort of human-centric designs, this human centricity in all of these developments and all of the way that we're planning. Where can we go? Where can we find that? How can we open our minds a bit more to understand the needs of the communities and the people we're serving?
Yeah, so I would say there is lots of information in terms of books and TED Talks and so on the internet, but also in the medical literature, there are lots of studies around this. But then I think it's all about combining different people with different types of knowledge, because it's kind of when we merge different types of expertise that we can create a greater whole.
I think it's such a great idea in general about having diverse teams, having diverse inputs, having diverse experts, because we tend to do things in the way that we know or we want or we're drawn to. But you're right, we're very diverse, disparate people, aren't we? And therefore, if we're designing for humans, maybe we need to accept that humans are incredibly diverse.
Yeah, for sure. And there is this fun quote stating that the mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work if it's not open. So by including people that may think a bit differently from us, we can kind of open our minds.
So let's talk a bit about how all of these insights to do with brain science and AI and the future of design, how all of these things are really revolutionizing construction and real estate, and maybe even industries beyond real estate, because we all live and work out there in the wider world. But where do you see the next big revolutions coming with these marrying pieces around data, AI, cognition, brain science?
Yeah. So the way I see it is, if you take Riyadh and Saudi as an example, if you build this type of intelligence, if you really learn from every screw and bolt that you put into every building that you're building right now, from every ventilation system, from every escalator and so on, if you put all that information together in a single bucket, rather than it being spread out in different brains and so on, then you can really create this super intelligence, and that will really make you the smartest kid in the class.
And we all want to be the smartest kid in the class.
Exactly. So that is what I think is so amazing today, that it's easy, or how to say, the common way to do it is that it's in someone's brain and then they quit or go somewhere else, and then that information is lost. But with technology, it really allows us to become smarter and really keep that knowledge so it doesn't disappear just because someone quits their job. And I also think it's beautiful that it means that everyone contributes, every little screw and bolt can contribute to a greater whole. And it also teaches us how to say the perfect construction recipes, what's sustainable, what ventilation system should we use, or if we are in this type of environment, how do we optimize the indoor environment, for example. So there is so much learnings from that, rather than reinventing the wheel every time we make a new building. So I kind of love the concept of this collective mind.
Do you have any specific kind of examples you can share with us, or paint a picture of environments or buildings or cities or projects that have really taken this idea of understanding human cognition, taking data, using it in a better way, and creating an outcome with it? Is there anything you can share with us where you've seen it done really, really well?
Yeah, so I think there are, how to say, bits and pieces in different parts of the world. And I really love, how to say, the trend of biophilia, bringing back nature into cities. And I know that there is a huge park being built here in Riyadh, the King Salman Park, for example. So I think that's a wonderful example how we need to include the green in our city environments.
Great. What I'd like to do now is just understand a little bit more for everybody in this room what we need to be doing next. Because you've opened our minds. Hopefully our minds are going to be more like parachutes now, nicely opened and ready to receive more information. But I don't want this knowledge and this learning to end when we walk out of those doors and when we go back into our day jobs. What are the best next steps that we can all take to make sure that we are continuing to just do a little bit more on this journey towards understanding human cognition, how to leverage these tools a bit better? What do you recommend?
Yeah, so the most basic principle for learning when it comes to the brain is trial and error. So applying it to this, it's all about trying. So if you tried, how to say, to do a small AI project where you try to learn everything about escalators or elevators or windows or whatever you like, then there is a learning process to that. And then you can extract, okay, this is working, this is not working. And once you learn that type of process, it kind of opens so many doors to your mind, because then you have learned a principle that can be applied to different types of areas. And you also have this, how to say, concept within tech to fail fast and early. So it's so important to just get started rather than creating the perfect plan for 5 years, because what we know from this field is that it's changing so rapidly. So what's new today is old tomorrow. So it's all about running and keeping up with the pace.
And trying. I think that's a great encouragement to us all.
Yeah.
I just want to bring us back, as we finish this session, to one of those first slides you showed, which is the idea that bad data is responsible for a number of fairly major issues like loss of money, fatalities. I mean, none of us want to have those on our, on our hands.
No.
What can we all be doing to make sure that the data we're using, the data we're accessing, the data that we are, we're looking to, is as good and as accurate as it can possibly be to avoid these issues that bad data brings up?
Yeah, so that's why it's so important to have a digital supporting system, because what it replaces is actually meetings IRL, where 30 people meet in a room and maybe you're drinking coffee or not listening. And I can take, how to say, a very tragic example from my own country, where there was a blaster that stood under a ceiling where another entrepreneur had placed steel beams. So as an explosion went off, she got the steel beam in her head. So it was super tragic, but that accident could have been avoided if she would have known that there were steel beams on this ceiling. Of course, she wouldn't have been standing where she did. So it's so simple. And by having this digital tool, you can really get a tailor-made solution for you. So when you come to your construction site, you can see what's valid for you. And you can ask questions, and then you can also secure the job that you do. So when it comes to bad accidents, it's seen that it's the most new ones at work because they don't know better. And then it's the elderly that have been there forever because they know everything and they take shortcuts. But with the digital system, we can kind of create checklists like they have in the aviation industry, where you check things before an explosion goes off, for example. So that becomes a way to secure and really consider health and safety when it comes to working environment.
So many uses of data, of brain cognition understanding, of the tools that AI is making accessible and bringing into everybody's ability to use in this brave new world. Dr. Katarina Gospic, thank you so much for your insights. I think you've encouraged us all to go and explore a bit more, to go and investigate those tools that exist, to be aware of the data we're using, make sure that we have support systems in place. Would you like to just say one final thing in closing to the audience?
Yeah, let's get started.
Get started.
Yes.
Fantastic. Please join me in thanking Dr. Katarina Gospic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'd like now to hand back to Abdullah Abu Al-Noor to welcome us to the rest of today's sessions. Thank you so much for your attention.